Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to your Capricorn August 2022 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, clairvoyant. Great to see you. If you're here for the first time, and as the subscribers, always good to see you. And as you subscribers know, there are no advertisements throughout this content, so there's nothing to distract you from the experience. And speaking of experience, I've had the great pleasure to do a number of one-on-one clairvoyant readings for some of your Capricorn sisters and brothers over the course of the last month, and if you're curious as to what might be involved in that, just check out the information that's in the description box below. I think you'll find it worthwhile. Now let's take 5 cards, shall we? That's our usual practice. 5 is the number of change, governed by Mars. In fact, I've got a card for Mars here. Mars is going to be looking after you during this period, by the looks of it. Hope you're enjoying summer in North America, Mexico, in the Northern Hemisphere, Europe. Good to see everybody there as well. Everybody in the United Kingdom, good to see you there. And of course, hi to the Philippines. Hi also to India. Great to see you in India and Pakistan. Good to see everybody in Singapore, in Indonesia and Malaysia. All enjoying summer. And in the Southern Hemisphere, of course, in South Africa, New Zealand and Australia, it's always the dead of winter and you'll be doing everything to stay warm. Well, maybe this reading will warm you up. So let's see what there is in store here. There is the Fool, followed by the One of Discs. I would assume that would be the Ace of Discs. If that's the case, it's a magnificent card. Spiritual Leaders. There is the Master of Cups. And here is the Three of Discs. Fantastic. Now you've got the One of Discs and the Three of Discs in a column by themselves. Really fortuitous for you, Capricorn. Why don't you come now, sit down here next to me. We'll have a good close look at the imagery on these cards together while I do the reading for you. Then now I think you can see those. Let's deal with this first card that you drew, which is the Fool, talking about, the title is Innocence or Ignorance. What might that mean, I wonder? Let's have a look here. Now, there is very much, with the Fool, of course, there's very much male and female aspects to it, because it's in a sense spirit before it's descended to earth, into matter, and there is a male form here, and obviously here a female form as well. So what I'll use is both male and female pronouns to it while the messages come through. And what I'll say is that the Fool represents your more impetuous side. It is the part that is unconcerned with what's going to happen or what could happen, and not caught up in fear or in worry. The Fool is free to be spontaneous, to go wherever the winds blow him or her. Now, sometimes he takes the form of a vagabond, that is, someone who travels here and there without plan or possession. At other times, the wandering takes place in the interior life, the mind and heart free to roam. Now, part of what gives the Fool freedom is that she has no set goal. He is not bent in a certain direction. This leaves him open to whatever fate may bring. In some ways, the Fool, I guess, is the embodiment of trust. He is without plan or protection, and without the awareness of danger. He feels safe and quite satisfied. He is optimistic and secure. And this optimism is something that's going to be with you during this period. Now, as the first card in the deck, I'm just looking at this number 0 here. As the first card in the deck, it's assigned to the number 0. The Fool is at the beginning of the journey of transformation, which takes place by going through all the major arcana of the tarot, going through the journey and learning from all the complexities of life, provides the deeper perspective and grounding of wisdom. You could say that the successful completion of this journey is actually coming back to the beginner's mind once you have learned the ropes. Another of the Fool's gifts to you is the vibrant, bouncy energy she shares with the child. He knows how to play and is filled with wonder. The Fool is forever off on new adventures. He is the spirit of adventure as well as the spirit of trust. Now, in this picture here, I'm just looking at this thing. This is this figure here is holding a bauble of some description, and it includes within it a multifaceted star. Do you see that? And I think that represents unlimited future potential and hope. Now, because the Fool doesn't have an image to uphold, he is free to change and to speak her truth. Like the child who said the emperor had no clothes, the Fool might say anything, sometimes to the dismay of those invested in the social order. It is often the Fool who can most effectively burst the old pattern. Now, this can provide for you the break from consensual reality, if you can call that reality, that is needed to be open to a new way of thinking about things, or it can usher in a period of chaos. I think that this energy here heralds an unexpected opportunity or adventure for you. Now, you may be about to step off the cliff of the old order and fall into a new phase of your life. It's very much what's coming through for me now. Or it could be a challenge to trust, to open the heart and come back to a more childlike relationship with Source, with the Absolute, with the Divinity. Now, something as simple as affirming your openness to change or to a more trusting relationship with life, well, that can help prepare the ground. Do you know, sometimes a person can get stuck in the shadow side of the Fool archetype and refuse to grow up or take on adult responsibilities. Then this strategy, of course, limits their life. Yes, there may be lots of fun, but at what expense to others and to your deeper dreams? Now I say this with respect, do you refuse to face facts financially, constantly overspending? Do you make impulsive decisions that end up being unwise? Are you so afraid of anything that smacks of an ordinary life that you fail to provide the helpful structures that can nurture and support the development of love and creativity? How long can you play Peter Pan for? If, on the other hand, you don't play at all, you may want to open yourself up to the gifts of the Fool. Now, there's another major arcana sitting around here somewhere. I think it's this one. Yes, let's have a look. The spiritual leaders taking the hierophant off the pedestal. Oh, is that fair? Let's have a look. Well, obviously, this is in other decks called the hierophant. But what might we glean from this? Now, I suppose one reason why it would make sense to me, say, taking the hierophant off the pedestal, is that we have a variety of people that are down here rather than just one person. So rather than just one male authority figure that is the enforcer of orthodoxy, the title taking the hierophant off the pedestal, I suppose, and this together with this picture, show you that spiritual leaders come in a variety of forms and that you don't need to limit yourself to one teacher. Now, if we look at the card itself, we see 3 women of different races. Now, this is, of course, only a sampling. but it does reflect the variety that's in our world. Now, the fire at the bottom of the painting down here, that represents the basic kundalini, or life force, which rises up the spine, opening various chakras. Now, the woman of color that you can see here, squatting on the ground, represents the lower chakras and the spiritual traditions such as African shamanism that teach us how to work with that energy. Her physical position, it seems to me, reflects the fact that she is close to the earth. She honors the earth and all its inhabitants as part of the sacred. Our teachings concerned with these chakras also include forms of tantra that show you how to work with this sexual energy, because the lower chakras are in particular to do with with sexuality and personal parts of your body and psyche. Now, the middle woman here, I'm just looking at her, you see her there? She is a Native American and represents the middle chakras. She is extending a candle to others, which fits with the fact that the middle chakras, well, they're more involved with interpersonal relationship and communication. This figure represents the spiritual teachings that relate to right speech, right action, and right relationship. And this third figure that is here, that you can see there, well, that can be associated with particular religious figures such as the Virgin Mary or Mary Magdalene, with Parvati, who is the wife of Shiva, with Khadija, the wife of Muhammad, or Kuan Yin in the Buddhist tradition. And they are all associated with the highest forms of love and compassion. She represents the upper chakras and those teachings that tell you about visions, guidance, and dissolving into the light. Now, although I use the word higher and lower, you must understand that these are not value judgments, because part of the message of this card is that all are part of the whole, and cutting off or repressing any part leaves you incomplete. Now, although spiritual leaders are often emerge from particular traditions, spiritual teachers, they don't have to occupy any particular role, and they don't have to occupy a role in a religious institution or even loosely affiliated groups. They can be friends. They can be people that you see, you learn, you pick up, you have the fingerprints are left on you as a result of seeing, hearing, or touching something. You may speak with a counselor, a healer, an artist. What they talk about or what you see in art can be profoundly spiritual. The teacher, remember, is simply a bridge to the divine, and anyone that serves as a bridge or a guide on the path may fulfill the role of teacher in particular circumstances. But because you have drawn this card and it's sitting here in the center of your spread this month, I think it indicates that you are now receptive to obtain spirituality. It may indicate an opportunity to become more of a spiritual leader within your own circle. Perhaps it is a time when a teacher or teaching is necessary, a time to take spiritual learning more seriously. Reflect carefully to see which of these situations you might be in. Now, whatever your relationship with the outer teacher, it is important to not neglect the relationship with the teacher within. In particular, the teacher within. Meditation, journaling, working with intuition, and any practice which increases sensitivity and awareness can help you listen to the guidance of your soul. This guidance can alert you to times when an external teacher is off the mark, or, as it says here, falling off the pedestal. Well, shall we have a look at the One of Discs, which is talking about birth into form. Very materialistic, this. I think this is a very good card for you this month. And I think that Taurus, Gemini, and Aries might be important to you during this period as well. What you notice here in particular is this sort of nest and the egg that's here. Different forms of an egg that are coming up here. Now, I suppose that the meaning of this One of Discs is clear. If you remember that discs represents the material world, and one is the number of beginnings. The One of Discs is therefore about new beginnings in the concrete world of daily life. And the egg is a perfect symbol for it. The egg includes both the seed of the new form and the nourishment that supports its development, doesn't it? Now, the minor arcana, well, they don't work with the number 0, but if there were a 0 of discs, it would represent the empty space that makes room for new forms. And if there is no room for something to manifest in your life, it is much more difficult. So 0, that is room, is a prerequisite to 1, and in a sense, this card is about both. It's about having the room for something to grow and then something bursting into life, into the space that has been made for it. Now, just as it's useful to have the clear awareness that allows you to watch a thought arise, it's useful to make ready a space in your life so that you can meet new relationships, roles, environments, things, or anything that manifests on the physical plane. You can then examine how the new form fits with the space and determine what adds or detracts. Now, because this card has come up, it indicates the beginning of a new pattern in your life, or the need to clear a space for one. This is a good time to deep clean your house, let go of things you no longer need, and take stock of current relationships and activities. Perhaps you are at a point of choosing a new living environment, or a new job, or a new routine, or some other form. New beginnings are important, and your readiness sets the stage for them to thrive. But if you don't have a clear sense of what new manifestation wants to come into your life, then maybe you could try the following visualization. Imagine a warm, dark space full of the energy of new possibilities. The space itself has a holding quality, and as you focus more carefully, a nest comes into view. In this nest is an egg with new life growing in it. Watch as this new life goes through its stages, eventually cracking open its shell and revealing itself. See what it is that is manifesting. Now, there's something else which is important to say, and it is this, that there is nothing you cannot be, there is nothing you cannot do, there is nothing you cannot have. You are the most magnificent, the most remarkable, the most splendid being God has ever created, for who could reject such wondrous magnificence? But you do not know who you are, and you think you are a great deal less. You are your own rule maker, and you are the only one who can assess how you are doing. All you see in the world is your idea about it. Life is going to take off for you when you choose for it to. An idea becomes a thought becomes a word. Say it out loud, words have power and they reverberate all throughout eternity. And a word becomes an action. And if you're going to do it, start and then go all the way. Seize the opportunity that comes before you. Rejoice in it, and let no power on earth take it from you. Now, seeing that we are in discs, let's see the discs. Well, these are the three of discs. And this speaks of integrated work. Right. This is a very interesting painting, I think. What can I get from this? Now, in the painting here, a woman performs a planting ritual. She makes space for frogs. See there, little frogs coming around there? And snails and other creatures, including them in the garden environment. Now, the presence of the frog, you might make it out there. That's what it looks like to me, a frog. That is especially meaningful for me here, because as an amphibian, the frog is at home both on land and in water, isn't it? Now, the person who embodies frog energy is at home both in the more watery element of the inner life and the earth element of work in the world. Such a person can live in both worlds without having to leave either behind. I think that this represents being responsive to your inner world. This is very much a theme for you this month, I think. But also while being responsive to your inner world and integrating it with your work environment. So this would include sensitivity to your emotions, your physical needs, and the quality of your relationships, as well as honoring your creativity and uniqueness. Now, a large part of our inner world is our feelings. When you don't know how to work skillfully with your feelings, you tend to push them under the rug and act them out in inappropriate ways sometimes. Now, much of the stress between people who work together occurs because feelings have been triggered and not really dealt with. Yeah. Clearing the energy can have a very liberating effect. Now, functioning from a more integrated place allows you to nurture your relationships as well as be responsive to the task at hand. It means not automatically putting the task in front of the relationship or the relationship in front of the task, but supporting both at the same time. Now, you can extend yourself to reach a goal without becoming ruthless or insensitive in the process, in addition to integrating emotional sensitivity into the work environment. This card also represents staying responsive to your physical needs. For example, nourishing your body with healthy food during the work period and breaking long hours up where you're just sitting. And make sure you focus, take your focus and look at things away from the computer screen or the phone. Or stretch. This also includes, I think, a concern for the beauty of the work environment so that it is pleasing and comfortable place to be. But because you have drawn this card, it is an invitation to you to look how you integrate your emotional and physical needs in your work life. It's a time to ask, how can I bring the water element, the inner life, onto the land, onto the earth, which is work? How can I bring more authenticity into my life at work and create a more supportive environment for myself and for others? This also, in addition to this, and this, is a very auspicious card for you. Now let's look finally, shall we, at the last one, which is Abiding in Love, the Master of Cups. Wow, this is a very trippy sort of a painting, I think. Now, in the painting here, a woman sits in a cave with power objects and power animals around her. Now, these tell you what she is connected to. Now, there is a turtle here. Do you see this turtle? There's its shell and there's its little head poking out. The turtle represents Mother Earth and the planets which are in the background. You can see them up there. They symbolize the larger cosmos. Now, these like pictographs of figures that are in the background here, you might make these drawings out. They're pictures that almost look like cave paintings, really, don't they? Well, they're on the back of the cave there. Well, I think they represent ancestors. The ancestors are important because mastery in this realm always involves understanding your family of origin as well as your past lives and karmic story. The master holds all of this as well as every emotion that arises within a larger field of love. Now, the pattern relating from this woman's belly is called the flower of life. This is the geometric pattern which underlies, well, all life. And all of the other basic geometric forms can be found within it. It's also called the hologram of love. Now, when you become a master in the emotional realm, you know that everything is just saturated with love and that the very fabric of the universe is love. The fact that this pattern is radiating from the woman's belly tells you that it is an embodied love. That is a love which is also in the body. It's not just a mental thing. It's not just an abstract mental thing. It's a physical thing. The card is not so much about feeling love or philosophizing about it, but about living love. It's appropriate, for this pattern radiates from her solar plexus, which is your power center, because love is more powerful than any other state or force in existence. Now, despite the fact that she is, and you'll see it again here, that she's sitting in water, which symbolizes the emotional realm, the woman's posture is actually very stable, isn't it? Once more communicating a grounded quality. Her love isn't airy-fairy, but practical. She can dispense tough love as well. Now, where we get into trouble is when we try to manufacture love. Any love that we put on is likely to be false. Now, to reach a more genuine love, you have to purify whatever blocks love, for love is your ground and true nature. You work through layers of habit and character structure so that you can rest in the one thing that will never perish. Now, because this card has come up for you, you are being drawn into a more abiding consciousness of love. Now, this will require taking off all of your armor and being vulnerable now. It also means being seated in a place that is deeper than the surface emotions. Think of it as being seated in the flower of life, the hologram of love, your own true nature. When this is your center, love comes naturally. What a beautiful set of cards for you. Good job. That's it for you this month. Well, what a fascinating reading. I'm sure you will agree. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed providing it to you. I really look forward to doing your reading each month, you know. I really do. Truly I do. And, you know, I send you some good energy, the subscribers, throughout the month, which you will feel from time to time. So don't worry, I'm always thinking of you. You are never alone. Now, until I see you again, remember one thing, and one thing is this, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. And until then, it's bye for now.